We'd like to start the regular press conference by Foreign Minister Motegi. Minister, the floor is yours. Until the day before yesterday, I went to the Middle East and I visited the Philippines and India. So it's been a time since I've had it's been some time since I've had this press conference. I have no opening announcement, so I will take your questions. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. And when called upon, please proceed to the microphone and state your name and affiliation before you state your question. Hokkaido Shimbun. Murakami-san, please. Murakami from Hokkaido Shimbun. I'd like to ask about the U.S. administration. The second Trump administration marks 1 year since its inauguration on the 20th. With the dissolution of the House of Representatives very soon, a general election is ahead, and post-election political framework has yet to be finalized. How should Japan proceed with diplomacy toward the United States, and what do you consider to be the key point, Minister? And the government has been holding consultations with the U.S. side on investment in the United States based on a tariff agreement. How do you respond to concerns about the profitability of such investment? Is Japan aiming to consolidate specific investment projects before the scheduled visit by Prime Minister Takaichi to the United States this spring? What is the current status of deliberation, please? The security environment surrounding Japan is becoming increasingly severe, and the international situation, Ukraine and the Middle East, and other areas in South America, we're seeing increasing complexities in the situation. So amidst this situation, the Middle East, which I visited, and also in Ukraine, in endeavors toward realization of peace, the United States continues to play an indispensable role. That is what we think. Since Trump 2.0, it's almost 1 year, and Japan and the regional peace and stability, and also toward the resolution of challenges of the international community. The importance of cooperation with the United States is something that I renewed my keen awareness on. And it is precisely because of this that we should have frank exchanges of views between allies and accumulate such exchanges and cooperation. By so doing, the cornerstone of Japan's diplomacy and security, we hope to make the alliance between Japan and the United States further strengthened, and we also want to extract U.S. commitment in the Indo-Pacific and also forward-looking engagement in the international community. This will become increasingly important. And with regard to the commitment of the United States in India and in the Philippines, I have raised this issue and to extract this and to liaise is something that we wish to do. And toward the spring, we are coordinating for the visit of the Prime Minister to the United States. I believe this to be an important opportunity. Last year in October, the first summit meeting was held, and we have been able to build up a relationship of trust between the two leaders. Going forward between the leaders, we hope that there'll be a confirmation of unwavering solidarity between Japan and the United States, and in broad areas, including diplomacy, economy, and security, rare earth and semiconductors and shipbuilding. There are various sectors. So within these various sectors, we hope to promote cooperation between Japan and the United States further to open up a new stage in the history of Japan-U.S. alliance, and so that this could be a very significant visit. In this regard, we hope to properly prepare for the visit. And with regard to the strategic investment initiative, the consolidation of the specific projects, we will be working on each specific project. Concerning this, between Japan and the United States, there's a consultative committee. And so through this consultative committee, inclusive of the perspective of profitability, we hope to make the projects appropriate. And with regard to the necessary points, we will advance consultations between Japan and the United States. So it's the businesses that will make investments. So from the standpoint of businesses, if it's not profitable, it would be not worth investment. That would be the case. On the side of the United States, providing land, infrastructure, and also with business partners, they will be recommending business partners for transaction. These things will be done on the part of Japan. Loan guarantees and various countermeasures will be taking. So between Japan and the United States, so that there'll be a win-win relationship. We hope that there'll be projects that will generate results. That is the kind of projects we wish to generate. As for specific projects, when that will transpire, as soon as possible is what I think at the moment. But the timing of announcement between Japan and the United States, we agreed that we would accelerate. And so on a continuous basis toward consolidation of projects, we want to be energetic in our work.
Next question, Bloomberg, Murakami-san. This is Murakami speaking. I would like to ask you a question about the relationship with China. With regard to the China's toughening the regulations on export controls, and there should be a cooperation with the nations of willing so that there will be actions to be taken. What kind of a request is Prime Minister intended and to do? Would you please repeat your question? Yesterday, Prime Minister Takaichi, with regard to the crucial items export controls, she should not be used as a tool for economic coercion. And so that there's going to be a cooperation with like-minded nations. And what kind of a framework of that kind of a request to be made by the like-minded nations? Probably, I think this is relating to rare earth exports. We should try not to be reliant on any specific country, including rare earth and the crucial mine minerals. We have to establish a supply chain for that purpose. And with regard to that, I think it is important to promote cooperation with like-minded nations. At the same time, if there is going to be the export control measure solely targeting in Japan, which is far different from international practices, therefore we cannot accept them, and it is a highly regrettable act. We launched a complaint against China and demanded that China should retract the measure as soon as possible. And through the telephone conversations, such export control measures by China or the products that China owns, they are trying to weaponize them for the strategic own purposes. As far as this kind of act is concerned, we are very much concerned about them. And I explained them throughout the conversation, the telephone conversations, and we gained support from those countries.
Shiba-san, please. Freelance journalist Shiba. Minister, you visited Israel and you met with Prime Minister Netanyahu and asked for appropriate measures to ensure protection of civilians and the delivery of humanitarian assistance in Gaza. But in Gaza, the situation continues to worsen for the past 20 years. And ICC has issued an arrest warrant for Prime Minister Netanyahu. But Japan has purchased 24.1 billion yen of Israeli weapons. And Mr. Onodera and members of the LDP Research Committee on Security visited and took pictures, shaking hands. And you have mentioned ICC, but inclusive of sanctions, a fundamental review of diplomacy toward Israel, and government and ruling parties asking them to refrain from exchanges with the Israeli defense industry. I think this is necessary. What do you think? On our part, international communities, and to ensure that there's thorough rule of law, and also the ICC, which is a permanent international criminal court. We have consistently supported this, and I have repeatedly mentioned this. Having said this, I visited Israel and Palestine this time, and the purpose of this was to convey the following: for the attainment of a détente in the Middle East and the building of peace. Japan has built up favorable relationships with both countries. And so based on this, Japan's thinking and specific actions going forward, I wish to specifically and frankly convey this to both sides. With the United States at the center, comprehensive peace consultations are underway, but in the end, to stabilize the region, Israel and Palestine, both sides must rid themselves of distrust. And the specific actions toward this end, I believe, is necessary. And so this is something that I frankly conveyed. And as for the courtesy call with Prime Minister Netanyahu, I told Prime Minister Netanyahu my thinking, which I just conveyed directly and specifically inclusive the international compliance of international laws, which includes international human law. Japan's position is to emphasize this, and based on this, protection of civilians in Gaza, and also securing humanitarian assistance for Israel to take appropriate action is something that we strongly called for. And the settlement activities are in violation of international laws, so the expansion of settlements and increased violence by settlers is something that Japan has serious concerns, which we have conveyed. So with continuation of this, I said that a relationship of trust cannot be built between the two countries. And I also mentioned that we emphasized a two-state solution. And so I conveyed our wish that they would tread the path toward the two-state solution. And with regard to the relationship with Israel, we will continue to take into consideration various circumstances to make appropriate decisions. As for individual activities by individual members, I didn't shake hands there in Israel. So concerning this, as foreign minister, I will not be commenting on this.
Nishimura-san. This is Nishimura. It is about Greenland.
President Trump's activities and his statements is something that I'd like to ask about. The United States wants to own Greenland. And it's de facto an attempt to change the status quo by force. The Japanese government have not commented to Trump's statements and activities toward Greenland. The stance of Trump, could you comment on this, please? With regard to Greenland, it has its geopolitical significance, and it also has rare earth. And so in terms of the significance, this is rising. That is my feeling. With regard to Greenland, the president's communication and statement are symbolic, and other government officials, or to comment on statements by foreign officials is something that I'd like to refrain from doing. Having said so, on our part, on the part of Japan, between the United States and Europe, concerning this issue, there are differences in the stance and position. And the Europeans are making the effort to coordinate. So the United States and Europe, between the two regions, we hope to see a stable relationship. That is our expectation. Yesterday, I took part in a teleconference of Japan-EU foreign ministers, and I conveyed to High Representative Callas that between the United States and Europe, we hope to see a coordination of views to create a stable relationship. This is what I conveyed. So the situation is something that we'll entertain high interest in, and we'd like to closely follow.
Itagaki-san, Asian News. My name is Itagaki of Asian News International. Now, throughout the meetings with the political leaders, I think you have achieved and delivered good results. And in the last visit in India, there was a courtesy call on Prime Minister Modi and a strategic dialogue between the foreign ministers. Would you please share with us your take? I made a visit into 5 countries, including Middle East, the Philippines, and India. And India was the last destination for my visit. I think it was a cold in weather, so I had a hard time, as a matter of fact. But there was a passionate discussion we have been engaged in. Through my visit to India this time, in the midst of all the changes to the existing international order, for the purpose of strengthening the relations with India, which is an important partner, we discussed bilateral cooperation and free and open Indo-Pacific future partnership with the Prime Minister Modi and Foreign Minister Chiang Kai-shek. We were supposed to have a 30-minute discussion with the Prime Minister, but it extended to 15 minutes. With the Foreign Minister Chiang over 2 hours. The topic extended from the free and open Indo-Pacific and bilateral cooperation and the future partnership. In particular, at the Foreign Minister Strategic Dialogue, we shared a common understanding of the current difficult regional and international situation and agreed to strengthen the cooperation. And as a follow-up to Prime Minister Modi's visit to Japan last August, we agreed to hold that Japan-India private sector dialogue and Japan-India a strategic dialogue for promoting economic growth and through innovations. We have a lot of Indian talents in Japan, so from the viewpoint of human resources exchanges, the 2 countries agreed to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between India and India in 2027. That means toward this particular year, we are going to initiate different initiatives. Building on these accomplishments, we will further strengthen the Japan-India relations and deepen cooperation for maintaining the international order. Any other questions? IWJ, Hamamoto-san. This is Hamamoto of IWJ. My question is about the war in Ukraine. On December 5th, the ICC accepted Russia's counter-claim against Ukraine. Since 2014, the Ukraine government committed a genocide against Russian civilians in Donbass, and that's their counterclaim. Russian military invasion was regarded as unprovoked invasion, but this time ICC has accepted Russian counterclaim. What is your view on this? Thank you. Would you please repeat your question? December 5th, 2025, ICC decided to accept the Russian counterclaim against Ukraine. The content of this counterclaim is that that Ukraine government committed the genocide against the Russian population in Donbass since 2014. Russian military invasion was criticized as a provoked invasion, but this issue is going to be taken up at the ICC. What is your take on this? As you pointed out, we are aware of the decision made by the ICC. This is a counterclaim by Russia. There is no decision made yet at ICC. Therefore, Japan will continue to monitor the future developments. With regard to our position, Russian invasion into Ukraine violates the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine, thus an egregious act that upends the international order. Therefore, Japan will continue to cooperate with the international community, including G7, to bring fair and lasting peace to Ukraine as soon as possible. Any other questions? And the press conference is closed.